pretty good life. The conflict is a minor inconvenience. I mean, let's put it in perspective. You know, set aside the Hasbara from the Israeli embassies of the rain of rockets. The reality is that in the past 2 years, the number of Israelis killed in conflict-related violence all over the country is 60 people. And I don't remember the exact proportion, but several dozen of those were occupation soldiers. I mean, people in combat. The number of civilians killed is about 24. Compare that, that's from January 1, 2008. From January 1, 2008. In the same period, the number of Palestinians killed is what? Who knows? Over 2,000. And the vast majority of them civilians. The number of Israelis killed in road accidents in that period is about 1,000. But you don't hear about Israel launching a war on road accidents. So it's a minor inconvenience for them, and what Hanin Zarbi explained is Israelis see it as a security problem, which they've solved, in their minds, in 3 ways. 1 with the siege and blockade of Gaza, 2 with the separation wall in the West Bank, and 3 with the security cooperation, so-called security cooperation between the Palestinian Authority and Israel, which many Palestinians see as collaboration with a foreign military occupation, not a sustainable system. So there is no Israeli answer or Zionist answer to this problem other than delay, keep doing the same thing. But, you know, even Hillary Clinton told AIPAC the situation is not sustainable. So I think we're going to start seeing more and more Israelis think about this, but they're not quite there yet. Let's see, the gentleman in blue. That's you, yes. Or is it purple? I'm a little colorblind. Sorry.
So I'm glad that you took some time to talk about the inequities that the Arabs of 48 are facing,
yes,
perhaps the Palestinians living in Israel, especially with housing segregation, and let's not forget about discrimination in housing, in higher education and employment. But I'm curious about your take on where the Arab-Israeli community fits into the picture as part of the solution. So do you suppose that a bulk of them are a bit apathetic or lacking the initiative to be more vocal on a grassroots level or on a legislative level, or do you think that they're just leading their lives and they already have problems to deal with?
That's a very good question, and of course, I wish Hanin Zarbi were here to answer it, but I talked to her a little bit about that and got some of her insights, as well as talking to other people. And sure, they're like everyone else. There's people who want to get by, and people who say, well, let's not agitate too much because it'll only make our situation worse. Because right now you have this extreme incitement against the Palestinian population in Israel, the imposition of loyalty oaths, and so people feel vulnerable, and there's a real risk to speaking out and becoming active. Nevertheless, people do, and you have seen a number of significant developments among Palestinian citizens of Israel in recent years, which I think are very important and really offer a way forward and should be seen as a resource by all of us. In the past few years, in 2007, there were a number of documents published by various representative groups of Palestinian citizens of Israel, and they're collectively known as the Future Vision documents. There's 4 of them: the Haifa Declaration, the Democratic Constitution, the Future Vision of the Arabs in Israel, and I forget the name of the 4th one, but you can find them online. And they represent a very creative and strategic thinking about the future of Palestinian citizens of Israel. And what they overwhelmingly call for is that Israel should become, whether it's within whatever borders Israel exists, a state of all its citizens. Shock, horror. Well, what is a state of all its citizens? It's a state where you have equality before the law. where you have, as is the case in other multi-ethnic societies, some recognition of collective rights and identities, but in a way that avoids discrimination or, tries to provide some recognition of that in culture, language, education, and so on, but within a democratic and neutral state. So I think that thinking has been going on by Palestinians in Israel, and it has been ignored. We keep talking about this dead as a duck vision of two states living side by side in peace. Meanwhile, Palestinians in Israel have been thinking about the future of what a democratic state would look like. So that is there, and I think from the Palestinian perspective, what Palestinians in Israel are saying is that the two-state solution is at our expense. Because if Israel is licensed to be a so-called Jewish state, what happens to us? What happens to our rights? And already we see Avigdor Lieberman, the Israeli foreign minister, talking about population exchanges and transfers and so on. So the two-state solution, in my view, would not precipitate peace. It would precipitate, in all likelihood, the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians within Israel. So the problem for Palestinians is that the Palestinians are cut off from each other physically. It's very difficult. That's deliberate policy, to keep the West Bank and Gaza separated, to keep Palestinians inside Israel separated from the West Bank, to prevent Palestinians in the diaspora returning. And this makes it very challenging for Palestinians to develop a coherent and unified vision. But I think that's very important, and it's one in which the Palestinians in Israel have to be fully integrated and have to be actors and beneficiaries, as do the refugees, who have also been ignored in the so-called peace process. Thank you. Yes, sir.